Past few Sundays, we've been tackling this theme of not giving up. Not giving up, pushing through, keep going despite challenges, persecutions, and setbacks. How many know you're going to experience some setbacks in life? You're going to experience some opposition in life. You're going to experience some rejection in life. And it's important to push your way through it. In week one, we looked at don't lose heart. Don't let challenges you face in your assignment. Don't let challenges you face in your ministry stop you from moving forward with the assignment God called you to. And last week, we looked at persistence pays off. How many knows persistence pays off? And we looked at of all the areas in our life we must be persistent in, it is in our prayer life. Having a persistent prayer life continuously and faithfully praying for something even when the answer seems delayed. Because how many know delayed doesn't mean denied? And being persistent means pushing through the not yet season, pushing through the delayed season. And today we're going to conclude and wrap up this theme for the time being of not giving up, pushing and keep going in spite of challenges and setbacks. And we're going to be in Jeremiah chapter 12. This is God speaking to Jeremiah after Jeremiah just complained to him about what he's going through. How many of you ever complained to God about what you're going through? We all human. And so Jeremiah chapter 12, and it's just one verse, verse 5. This is God's response to Jeremiah's complaint about what he's going through. You will see it on the screen if you don't have it on your Bible. This is God speaking. If you have run with the footmen, and they have wearied you, then how, someone say how, can you contend with the horses? And if in the land of peace in which you trusted, they wearied you, then how, someone say how, will you do in the flood plain of the Jordan? And my subject this morning is greater challenges ahead, with a subtitle of don't let the small stuff weary you. Someone say self. Don't let the small stuff weary you. Don't let the little things, the small things exhaust you. Don't let the little things, the small things wear you out, because there's greater challenges ahead. And you can't let the petty small things prevent you from moving forward. My sophomore year of high school, I did something so random. I played a sport that I didn't even know existed at the time. I played a sport called cross country. Y'all familiar with cross country? Never heard of it before at the time, but it was something new at Riverview, and the coach wanted some players because he needed a team to compete. So I said, you know what, I'll run some cross country because I'm fast. I got some speed, I'm fast, but I quickly discovered that cross country isn't a test of speed. It's a test of endurance. Someone say endurance. Endurance. It's a 3.1 mile race. And I was fast in the first 0.5 miles. But it was the other miles that took me out. I say I'm fast, but I didn't have what's known as endurance. Someone say endurance again. Endurance is defined as the ability to withstand hardship or adversity. Endurance is defined as the ability to sustain a prolonged stressful effort or activity. So in long story short, endurance is the ability to keep going when you feel like stopping. Have you ever felt like stopping before? When you looked at the world around you, you looked at what you're going through, you just say, you know what, I am done with this. But endurance is a crucial component of a Christian life, because the Christian life is a race. And it's a race that must be ran with endurance, because the Christian life is a marathon, not a sprint. So the Christian life isn't a test of speed, it's a test of endurance. It's all about endurance. It's all about persevering through trials and difficulties. It's all about remaining steadfast in your faith, even when facing challenges. Endurance is about trusting God through longer stretches of time. You trust in Him for 5 minutes, but can you trust Him for a month? You trust Him for a week, but can you trust Him for a year? When it seems like the world around you is in chaos, can you continue trusting God through greater degrees of difficulty? You trust Him now, but can you trust Him when things get a little more difficult? You trust Him now, but can you trust Him when things get worse? You trust Him now, but can you trust Him when things get crazier, the world gets messier? You trust Him now, but can you trust Him when the nation you live in, the country you live in, feels like it's regressing instead of progress? Can you trust Him in the midst of chaos? Can you trust Him when you look around you and you see the wicked prospering and you see the bad people winning? Can you trust Him when you feel like the footmen are running wild in your life? God told Jeremiah, if you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you, then how can you contend? How can you compete with the horses? This is a metaphor God is using to describe something. God used footmen and horses because it was a realistic military comparison people understood. It's like when Jesus taught in parables, He broke it down in a way so people can easily digest it, easily understand. So God is using this metaphor of footmen and horses to make it more plain. During Jeremiah's time, battles were fought with footmen, foot soldiers, and horsemen. The footmen were ordinary soldiers, while the horsemen were stronger. Someone say stronger. Faster. Someone say faster. And far more dangerous. So if a soldier is fighting and they can't keep up in battle against a weaker footman, then how could they possibly survive an attack by the horsemen? And in our spiritual lives, the footman represents the smaller, everyday struggles we face. It represents the disappointments, the hurt, the setbacks, the frustrations, and the horsemen represent the greater challenges that lie ahead, because greater challenges are coming. Greater trouble is coming. Greater responsibility is coming. So the horses symbolize the great challenges that lie ahead, the bigger trials, the greater responsibility. And just like how small workouts build endurance for greater challenges, God will use small things in life to build your endurance. God will use the small things in life to build your endurance. God will use the footmen to prepare you to compete with the horses. Many people want to compete with the horsemen, but you can't even handle the little problems you're dealing with today. Because compared to horses, the footmen were lesser adversities, lesser difficulty that seem overwhelming in the moment. You ever had a small issue, but it was just the timing of it, and it felt overwhelming in the moment. And it can become so overwhelming in the moment that you get discouraged, so overwhelming in the moment that you get exhausted, so overwhelming in the moment that you grow weary. But I'm here to tell you, don't let the small stuff tire you out. Don't let the footmen weary you. Don't let the footmen exhaust you. Don't let the footmen discourage you to the point that you just want to stop going, because God wants you to keep going. Someone say, keep going. God is using the small, petty stuff you're going through to build your endurance. Your endurance is everything, so that you can compete, so that you can contend with the horse. He's building your endurance so that you can endure the great trials ahead, because God has greater things for you. God has greater things for you, but those great things do not come without great challenges. Those great things do not come without great opposition. Those great things don't come without great trouble. And Jeremiah, because God is the one who told Jeremiah, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you what? A future and a hope. And so he said, I got plans for you, but those plans won't be easy. Those plans will be difficult. Those plans will have you facing persecution, rejection, opposition. And if you can't handle the small stuff I gave you now, what makes you think you're going to handle the bigger stuff later? If you can't handle where you are now, how will you handle where I'm taking you? And it's some people in this room, I know you tired. I know you exhausted. I know you frustrated by the small things you going through. But God is saying, if you can't handle the small challenges now, baby, you won't survive the greater challenges that lie ahead, because great challenges are coming. So do not let the small stuff weary you. This is the point that God is making to Jeremiah in this text. Verse 5 is a rhetorical question. And if for those who don't know, the point of a rhetorical question is not meant to be answered. It's meant to make a point. Like when people say, do it look like I was born yesterday? That's just a point. You saying, I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid, I'm not naive. You using that question to make a point. God is using this question to make a point to Jeremiah that harder times are coming. Greater challenges lie ahead. And God is warning Jeremiah, and God is also warning us in this text that we need to grow in our endurance now, because harder times are coming. You ain't seen nothing yet. Someone say, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. The closer you get to the goal, the harder it is to get to the goal. So just know when the footmen are around and the footmen are coming at you, you are getting close to where God called you to. So we should not get tired. We should not grow weary. We need to endure the footmen and keep on going so that we can get all that God has for us. But we let the little, small, frustrating things stop us. So we need to grow in our endurance now, because where God is taking you, where God is taking you, where God is taking you, baby, you're going to need it. You're going to need all the endurance you can get, because the higher you go up, the more difficult it will become. And a way to grow in your endurance is by dealing with the footmen. Someone say, deal with the footmen. The way you grow in your endurance is how you handle your business with the footmen. The way you grow your endurance is how you handle the small things, the small challenges in life. How you grow in your endurance is how you handle your business with the petty challenges in life. Handle your business when it comes to these small battles. Handle your business when it comes to the everyday struggles you going through. Jeremiah had a lot of footmen that he was worried about. Jeremiah had a lot of small things that he was stressing over. But God is saying, if you can't handle it now, how you going to handle where I'm taking you? Because Jeremiah was dealing with a lot. Someone say a lot. Because remember, he was only 17 when God called him. He was only 17 when God called him. Can you imagine being 17 and God called you to be a prophet, and you speaking to some people that don't want to hear what you have to say? And he telling you better not stop. You better keep going. And that's why he is known as the weeping prophet, because he cried a lot. He cried a lot because he felt the fate for his people. He cared about his people. He felt for his people. And it's like no matter how hard he tried to get them to repent, no matter how hard he tried to get them to listen, they did not want to listen to what he had to say. And he was just telling them what God told him to tell them. And they didn't want to listen to what he had to say, so he's known as the weeping prophet. His life was full of opposition. His life was full of rejection from his own people, not from strangers, but his own. Sometimes it be your own people that frustrate you. So people say, it be my own family too that frustrate you. It be your own people, it be your own family that bother you, that frustrate you. And these are Jeremiah's footmen. He's facing opposition. He's facing rejection. His own hometown in Anathoth plotted to kill him because they did not like what he had to say. So his own hometown was like, we need to take him out. We don't like what he has to say. His own people wanted him dead. His own family, people close to him, wanted him dead. Can you imagine the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual burden he was carrying? Can you imagine the emotional toll it would take on you when your own family don't want to fool with you? Can you imagine the weight that you carry, the mental toll it takes when people you thought loved you turning their back on you and want you dead? And it's amazing how the footmen show up the second you give God your yes. And that's why many people are afraid to give God their yes. Because you're not just saying yes to God, you're saying yes to rejection. You're not just saying yes to God, you're saying yes to opposition. You're not just saying yes to God. It's more behind that yes. And I don't know about you, but how many of you, but when God called you to do something, say, God, show me everything behind the yes. Show me the door behind the yes. Because if I say yes to this door, I want to know what all I'm saying yes to. And Jeremiah, and many of us, you say yes, you saying yes to some footmen. The second you show up, here come the frustration, here come the rejection, here come the opposition. You're like, where was all this yet? But it's when you start walking in your assignment, walking in your God-given calling, that's when all this petty little things come into your life to stop you from moving ahead. Because remember, the enemy cannot stop what God gives you, but he can throw things in your life to discourage you, tire you out, and exhaust you, to get you to throw up your hands and walk away from the life that God called you to. But I don't know about you. I want everything that God called me to. What God called you to is too precious for you to turn your back on. What God called you to is too precious for you to throw up your hands and walk away. If God did not shake the dust off your feet and walk away, as I said before, you sit your behind right there. If God did not say turn your resignation letter in today, you better leave it in drafts. If some of y'all ready to press send. If God didn't say it, then sit your butt right there. Jeremiah is suffering so much. He's going through so much. His own people want him dead. People don't want to listen to him. And he's all alone. He's trying to figure out what can he do while he's struggling and while he's dealing with all these problems. Just like us, when we dealing with all these problems, he's looking around and he sees the bad people winning. He sees the wicked winning. He sees the treacherous people thriving. And he's doing all this. He's looking and he starts complaining to God. Verse 5 is God's response to Jeremiah's complaint. Because leading up to verse 5, he asks God the $1 million question that everyone, if we could be honest, if everyone in this room asks God, why are the wicked prospering despite their wrongdoing? Can you put that verse on the screen? You will see this is Jeremiah's complaint. This is the complaint that God is responding to when he brings up the footmen and the horses. Righteous are you, O Lord. When I plead with you, you let me talk with you about your judgment. And then here's the question. Why does the way of the wicked prosper? Why are those happy who deal so treacherously. Why are the way of the wicked? You have planted them, yes. They have taken root. They grow, yes. They bear fruit. You are near in their mouth, but far from their heart. So they know they don't want to fool with you. But you, oh Lord, you what? You know me. You ever said, God, you know me? You know me. You see me. You know my heart. You know I'm trying. You see I'm out here doing my best to be an ambassador of Christ. You see I'm out here living the best example I can of being an ambassador. But when I look around, I see people out there who don't want to fool with you winning. When I look around, yeah, that's enough for the text. Thank you. When I look around, I just see the wicked people winning. I see evil people winning. I see evil people getting the jobs that I want. I see evil people getting promotions that I prayed for. I see evil people getting opportunities that I prayed for. Why am I dealing with this suffering? Why am I suffering like this? You ever had a moment with God and you had to ask him why? Why am I the only one not having kids and people that don't even want to have kids? Why I lost my job but the people doing bad kept their job? Why am I out here suffering and the bad people around me are living life the way they want to live and they getting all the blessings that I asked for? Why am I dealing with this? But I'm here to tell you, when you are a believer, when you are a Christian, when you are a blood-bought believer, your suffering isn't pointless. Your suffering isn't meaningless. Your suffering counts for something. Someone say it counts for something. Your suffering counts for something. How can you say that, Pastor? Because the Apostle Paul said in this next text on the screen, Romans 5:3. This is what the Apostle Paul had to say about suffering. We rejoice in our suffering, knowing that what? Suffering produces endurance. It's not the good days that produce endurance, it's the suffering that produce endurance. It's not the sunny days that produce endurance, it's the suffering that produce endurance. It's not the easy moments that produce endurance, it's the what? Suffering, the affliction, the tough times, the hard times, the stormy days. All that produces what? Endurance. So God is using what you're going through to build your endurance. God is using the affliction you're going through, the affliction you experiencing to what? To build your endurance. He is using in the storm to build your endurance, the bad moments to build your endurance. God is using adversity to build your endurance. You are not suffering for no reason. God wants to build your endurance. You're not going through that storm for no reason. God is building your endurance. That's why we should rejoice in our pain, rejoice in our suffering, rejoice when things don't go our way, rejoice in the affliction, rejoice in adversity, knowing that God is up to something. Someone say, God is up to something. It takes a certain level of faith to be in a storm and say, God is up to something. It takes a certain level of faith to be mourning and say, God is up to something. It takes a certain level of faith to lose your job and say, God is up to something. He's building your endurance, because where he wants to take you, you're going to need all the endurance you can get. Because I just don't want God to lead me to it. I want to stay in it. I want to endure the season he brings to me. I want to endure the opportunities he brings in my life. Because if you do not have the endurance, when he introduced that blessing to you, when he introduced that responsibility to you, you fumble it because it wore you out. You jump straight into a 3-mile race with no endurance. And now after a week, you're ready to leave because you do not have the proper endurance. So don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. You got this. The footmen are a precursor to the horses. So if you're exhausted dealing with the footmen, then how will you compete? How will you contend with the horses? God is reminding Jeremiah that greater challenges are coming. God is reminding Jeremiah that the horses are coming. So you must be ready to endure. Someone say endure. You must be ready to endure the frustrations. You must be ready to endure the sadness. You must be ready to endure the suffering. You must be ready to endure the frustration. You must be ready to endure the disappointment, the discouragement. Someone say, endure. We must be willing to endure the footmen because the horses are coming. Someone say the horses are coming. And God allows the footmen to train you so you can handle the horses. God allowed the footmen to train you so that when greater comes, you can handle the great responsibility. You can handle the great challenges. And God also said, Jeremiah, if the land of peace in which you trusted, they have wearied you, then how will you do in the floodplain of the Jordan? So basically said, if the normal, stable circumstance that you're comfortable in, if that's tiring you out, then how will you handle a dangerous place known for flooding and wild animals? So if you're struggling in a relatively safe season, then how will you survive when things get worse? That's what God is breaking down to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, again, he's frustrated. I'll be frustrated too if the people I love turn their backs on me and want me dead. I'll be frustrated too. I'm like, God, you need to talk to your people because people are people and I'm tired of it. But where you are now is training grounds. We need to change our perspective about the situation. Instead of being frustrated in what we're going through, say, God, you using this for training grounds. What are you training me for? What are you preparing me for? What are you equipping me for? God is using your current struggles to build your endurance for the next level. And if we allow the footmen to exhaust us, if we allow small problems to exhaust us, we won't have the strength to run with the horses. We won't have the strength to deal with bigger, greater challenges. So instead of being discouraged by our present struggles, we should see them as training. Someone say training for the greater purpose ahead. This level is training you for the next level. Where you are now is training you for where God is going to take you. Where you are now is training you for the next level. Because I quickly realized new levels, new devils. And when you don't properly prepare for the next level, level 2 devils going to take you out. Because you didn't properly handle level 1. And so level 1 is preparing you for level 2. Because many people want God to bless them with more, but when you get more of anything, I like how the pastor say, if you get more of anything, you get more of everything. You can't have more of this and not more of that. And many people, God enlarge my territory. You wake up singing that song. It feels good. But if God truly enlarge your territory, it's going to not just be more, it's a backside to better. It's a backside to a blessing. Yes, you got more money, but you got more problems too. Yes, you got more followers, but now you have more trolls. So if you can't handle the 100 followers you have, the 100 trolls you have, what makes you think you're going to handle 100,000 trolls? You're ready to lose your life over 10. And you want God to build you up, blow your name up, and now you got 100,000 people not liking you? More of anything means more of everything. More money, more haters. More followers, more trolls. People want more lights. God, I want more lights on me. More lights, more heat. You can't even handle the little heat you have. What makes you think you're going to handle 10 more lights, more heat? The higher up you go, the more responsibility you have, the more pressure you have. You can't even handle the job as a cashier. What makes you think you're going to handle being a CEO? So where you are now is training grounds for greater. Where you are now is training grounds for something better. And if you can't handle this, if you can't even handle down here, what makes you think you're going to handle it up here. You ready to cuss people out down here. What makes you think you're going to not want to cuss people out what? Up here. You ready to lose your job down here. But what makes you think you're going to handle it when you up here? Because the higher up you go, the more responsibility, the more moments you have, the more people that don't like you, the more people that oppose you, the more people that reject you, the more people that dislike you. So if you can't even handle here, well, how are you going to contend with the horses? You can't even handle the footmen. And up here, it's just nothing but horses. And you are crying, ready to lose your life over things down there when God is saying, I'm trying to take you higher, but you must be willing to handle the small, petty challenges you're going through now. Because if you're going to handle it well, I got greater for you. But if you can't even handle it down there, ooh, baby, that next level is going to wear you out. And we quick to say, God, level me up. God, I want to experience a new level. I want more of this. I want more of that. But you never ask for more trolls. You never ask for more rejection. You never ask for more opposition. You never ask for more people that hate you and dislike you and that's against you. But just know, when God takes you higher, he not just going to take you and not go with you. And just know, if God introduced a door to you, remember, he already went on the other side of the door and checked it out. So you need to handle your business at the level you at, so that when God introduced that next level to you, you can walk in there with boldness and say, I am built for this level. I'm built for this. Someone say, I'm built for this. So instead of being frustrated in the small struggles, rejoice knowing that God is training you for something greater. God is training you for something. What you're going through is just a warm-up for something greater. What you're going through is just a warm-up, for the real battle is coming. David did not know, when he was out there fighting lions and bears, that God was training him for Goliath. David did not know, while he was out there fighting lions and bears, that God was training him to face a giant. David did not know. Imagine if David let the lions exhaust him, he wouldn't have been ready for Goliath. If David let the bears weary him, he wouldn't have been ready for God. But the fact that he handled business with the lions, the fact that he handled business with the bears, I was going to say lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, the fact that he handled business on that level, he was able to handle business at the next level. The fact that he held his own when it came to the lions, held his own when it came to the bears, when it came to Goliath, it was nothing. Because he was able to look and say, the same God who was with me back then is the same God that's going to be with me today. The same God that was with you at level 1 is the same God that's with you on level 2. The same God that's with you down here is the same God that's going to be with you up here. So yes, greater challenges lie ahead, but God is on your side. Because David handled his business with the lions and the bears, he was able to handle his business with Goliath. And if you want to handle business with these horses that's coming in your life, you must be willing to handle the footmen. Someone say endure. You must be willing to endure the small challenges you're going through, because God is going to send some horses in your life, and you must be ready. David handled business down here when no one was looking, and he was able to handle business in public when all eyes were on him when it came to the Goliath. And you will be able to take on the next level things. You'll be able to take on the horses in your life, knowing, saying, I'm built for such a fight like this. It's some people, I know you experienced some horses before. You experienced some great challenges, some great pains. And when you look back over your life, you can say all the little things you dealt with was preparing you for such a time like this. All the little things you were struggling with preparing you for such a fight like this. And so when the next fight do come, that great fight do come, you can easily say, I am built for such a fight like this. When the enemy coming at you, creep, say, I'm built for such a fight like this. When the enemy got a stronghold, I am built for such a fight like this. When your kid is going, I am built for such a fight like this. When the enemy is running rampant in your marriage, I am built for such a fight like this. When the enemy is running rampant in your children, I am built for such a fight like this. Jeremiah was built for this. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, he has footmen, but God equipped Jeremiah for such a fight like this. Yes, Jeremiah is frustrated, but God has equipped him. Because when God called Jeremiah, if you look at Jeremiah's life and God called Jeremiah, God said, hey, check this out. Today, I make you like a fortified city. People will fight against you, but they won't prevail because I am with you. Doesn't it feel good to know? Doesn't feel good to know that God will make you today like a fortified city, so it doesn't matter what's coming your way. You built for such a fight like this. Don't let the small things worry you. Don't let the frustrations weary you. Don't let the small stuff weary, because you are built to tackle those things. You are built to handle those things, because how you handle the small stuff is going to determine if you can handle the greater stuff. All the parents in here, when you tell your kid, if you can't even handle this, I'm not going to give you that. You can't even handle this responsibility. So you want more responsibility? I'm not going to give you more if I don't think you can handle it. But God is so loving. So you just know if God drops something on you, he know deep down inside you have what it takes to deal with it. I know it's frustrating, but you have what it takes to deal with it. I know it's petty, but you have what it takes to deal with it. I know you are sad, but you have what it takes to deal with it. Sometimes I have what it takes. The little things you're going through are preparing you for something greater. And I can't help but just think about my own life. When all the little things, the little challenges I was facing, the struggles I was going through was building me up, because God knew that when at the age of 25, September 16, 2016, I was going to experience something so crazy. And if I didn't have the endurance from the other battles, I wouldn't be able to endure the season that was coming up. And there's some people in this room and people online, you are in a hard season, but you are enduring the season because of all the little challenges you fought in the past. All the little battles you fought in the past. You handled your business, and now look at you handling your business now. You handled your business back then, you handling your business now. Because it's the little things that matter. It's the little things that fix you, that build you up. It's the little things. So if you let the little things stop you, you will not be able to endure the horses and the greater challenges ahead. Amen? Can we give God praise? So I'm saying I'm built for this.